Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to introduce you to our new Fall-Winter 2020 book club selection. Before we begin, let me briefly introduce myself for any of you who may not know me personally. My name is Chelsea Coronel, and I have a master's degree in teaching English as a second language from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Currently, I live in Washington, D.C. with my husband and my 10-month-old son, Enzo. I really love teaching English, and I've especially enjoyed teaching these book club classes as it gives us a great opportunity to dive into some very good literature and have some wonderful discussions about it. All right, let's talk about what we have planned for our upcoming book club series. As I thought about which books I wanted to select for the upcoming class, I decided to go with some of my personal favorites. I chose one of my favorite authors and one of my favorite books. So for this particular book club, we're kind of going to go with my personal favorites, but I think they're very good books and I think students will enjoy them as well. So let me tell you a little bit about the books, what they are, give you a brief overview of them, and then actually to end this video, I'm going to read an excerpt from each of the books to help you decide if the book sounds interesting and seems appropriate to your level, so you can decide if you would like to join us for this book club. All right, as you can see here, the books I've selected are Ringer by Jerry Spinelli, the cover of which you see on the left, and Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech, and we have the cover of that book on the right. As I said before, these are two wonderful authors. I've read several books from both of them. Walk Two Moons has been one of my personal favorite books for many years, since I was a child. And Jerry Spinelli, the author of Ringer, has also been one of my favorite authors. I've read many, many books by Jerry Spinelli, and I think both of these authors are truly exceptional writers, and they really write wonderful stories. As you can see from the covers of the books, both of these books have been honored by Newbery Medal Awards. So I think they're not only my personal favorites, but other people think that they're pretty good books as well. So these are the two books that I've selected to read for the book club, and I'm especially excited about them. If you've joined us for book club before, you will know the kind of general format of class. If any of you are new, I will just briefly review this with you. So classes will largely consist of group discussions. A study guide will be provided ahead of time each week in order for students to take notes and prepare for the discussion. And aside from doing discussions, we may do other activities such as group or collaborative writing practices, individual writing practices, those will be short, vocabulary work, and close reading. We'll read each book over the course of approximately 3 weeks. And then on the 4th week, we will dedicate several days to writing a final essay, which has typically been about 1 to 3 pages in length, typed. And the essay will be written kind of in a process. So it will begin by writing a first draft, receiving feedback from me, and then turning in a final corrected draft of the essay. So it's a process that takes at least several days over the course of that 4th week. So that's just a little overview of how the class goes. And our classes meet via Zoom, as those of you who've taken the class before know. So let me tell you a little bit about these two books. You already know why I chose them because they're kind of my favorite books and favorite authors. But let me give you a brief synopsis of the books and maybe talk a little bit about the level of the books and then look specifically at an excerpt from the book to give you a taste of what it's going to be like. So let's begin with Ringer by Jerry Spinelli. This is a realistic fiction book. I would consider it kind of a coming of age story. The protagonist in the book is a 9-year-old boy who's kind of struggling with some feelings he has about turning 10 years old. As we can see here from the Scholastic website, the Lexile measure of Ringer is 690, and as I said, the genre is fiction. Now let's talk about Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. Walk to Moons by Sharon Creech is also realistic fiction, and I would also consider it a coming of age story, although it is quite different from Ringer. I would say the kind of themes and plot are different. In Walk to Moons, our protagonist is a young girl who is dealing with moving to a different state and some big changes that are happening in her life. As we see on the Scholastic website, the Lexile measure for Walk to Moons is 770, so slightly higher than Ringer, but still quite similar, quite comparable in the difficulty of the two books. All right. Like I said, I do want to read an excerpt from the book, from both of these books, because I think that this will give you a good taste of the writing style, the difficulty of the book, and just kind of give you a brief taste of whether or not you're interested in the book. First, I'm going to read an excerpt about a page and a half from a Ringer by Jerry Spinelli. As I will present the text on the screen and I will read so you can follow along if you'd like. A good measure, a good way to decide if the book is an appropriate level for you is sometimes we'll have a student preview a book and do kind of a count to 5, counting the words on the page that they're unfamiliar with. So if you read the page and there are 0 unfamiliar words, then the book will be very easy for you. It's definitely at your level. If there are 1 or 2 unfamiliar words, the book is also probably still at your level. It may be, a little bit challenging, but an appropriate challenge. If there are 0 unfamiliar words, the book may be too easy. If there are 1 or 2 unfamiliar words, it may be kind of a good challenge at your level. If there are 3 or 4 unfamiliar words, then this will be a more challenging book, but it could still be doable for you if you're willing to push yourself to read something a little bit more challenging. If there are 5 or more words which are completely unfamiliar to you, this book may be too difficult for you. So this is a self-assessment tool that you can use as I'm reading this page to you. Just kind of counting the words that you are completely unfamiliar with. If you reach or exceed 5, then this book may be too difficult for you. However, if you find 1 or 2 words which seem a little bit unfamiliar to you, then this book may be kind of the perfect level for you. All right. That being said, let's begin reading, and hopefully you'll just follow along and listen and kind of self-assess and think about whether or not this is a book you would enjoy and would be at your level. His mother called, "Palmer, hurry, they're coming." The doorbell rang. "Palmer!" He flew down the stairs. His mother waved him on. "Go, go. It's your birthday. You invited them." At the door, he turned, suddenly afraid to open it. He did not want to be disappointed. "You sure it's them?" His mother's eyes rolled. "No, it's my Aunt Millie. Open it." He opened the door, and there they were. Beans, Mutto, Henry. 3 grinning faces, shoving wrapped gifts into his chest, storming past him into the house. Beans bellowing, "Where's the grub?" Palmer stayed in the doorway, fighting back tears. They were tears of relief and joy. He had been sure they would not come, but they did. He wondered if they would give him a nickname. What would it possibly be? But that was asking too much. This was plenty. They were here, with presents. They liked him. He was one of them, at last. All right, so that is our excerpt, just a little over 1 page from Ringer by Jerry Spinelli. Now let's head over and read an excerpt from Walk to Moons by Sharon Creech. Again, use this as an opportunity to self-assess whether or not the book seems interesting and whether or not the book seems level appropriate for you. Gramps says that I am a country girl at heart, and that is true. I have lived most of my 13 years in Bybanks, Kentucky, which is not much more than a caboodle of houses roosting in a green spot alongside the Ohio River. Just over a year ago, my father plucked me up like a weed and took me and all our belongings. No, that is not true. He did not bring the chestnut tree, the willow, the maple, the hayloft, or the swimming hole, which all belonged to me. And we drove 300 miles straight north and stopped in front of a house in Euclid, Ohio. No trees, I said. This is where we're going to live? No, my father said. This is Margaret's house. The front door of the house opened, and a lady with wild red hair stood there. I looked up and down the street. The houses were all jammed together like a row of birdhouses. In front of each house was a tiny square of grass, and in front of that was a thin gray sidewalk running alongside a gray road. Where's the barn? I asked. The river, the swimming hole. Oh, Sal, my father said. Come on, there's Margaret. He waved to the lady at the door. We have to go back. I forgot something. The lady with the wild red hair opened the door and came out onto the porch. In the back of my closet, I said. Under the floorboards, I put something there, and I've got to have it. Don't be a goose. Come and see Margaret. I did not want to see Margaret. I stood there, looking around, and that's when I saw the face pressed up against an upstairs window next door. It was a round girl's face, and it looked afraid. I didn't know it then, but that face belonged to Phoebe Winterbottom, a girl who had a powerful imagination, who would become my friend, and who would have many peculiar things happen to her. All right, so that is our excerpt from Walk Two Moons by Sharon Creech. So, this is what I have planned for our upcoming book club. I am extremely excited about these two books. I think they are wonderful. They're very similar in some ways. Like I said, they're both coming of age, realistic fiction, similar Lexile levels, but they're also very different. In one, we have a male protagonist, and the other, we have a female protagonist. I think they both explore very different plots and themes. So I think they will be very, very exciting to read. Hopefully you're excited for them too. Yes, that is our plan for book club. If you have never been in our book club before, the book clubs run 8 weeks. We spend 3 weeks reading one book, then the 4th week writing an essay, 3 books reading the second book, and the 4th week writing an essay. And at least I can say for myself, I always have a lot of fun in the book clubs. There's always a lot of lively discussion and very interesting essays at the end. So I hope you will join us, and we will see you at book club. Thank you. Bye.